Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my awesome Orisa survival guide. She is, of course, live right now on, well, the live service. So let's go over her abilities and let's discuss how you should be using Orisa. So this thing is her barrier. It is 900 HP. You will notice that the cooldown has started the moment you drop this barrier down, much like the new Winston. Anyway, what this means is you need to deploy your barrier before you know the enemy are going to attack you, so then you've got another barrier in reserve, effectively giving you 1800 points of barrier. That is beautiful. Now, the primary weapon, the fusion driver, don't stop firing. Keep firing this thing all of the time. It's got 150 bullets in it, which means you can just keep firing. Now, it is projectile based, so it is quite difficult to aim, but we'll get onto that a bit further on in the video. But it is a very powerful weapon, and you really don't want to stop firing. This is Halt, the mini graviton surge. It is insanely powerful, probably her best ability. Yes, you can pull people off the map with it, and that's beautiful, but there are some sort of little nuances with this ability that you need to be aware of. What you want to do is when you're firing the Halt ability, you do not want to stop firing your primary weapon. Keep firing the fusion driver, fire Halt, and then detonate Halt. Now, the way Halt works is if you press the same button again that you used to fire the ability, it will detonate it and pull people together. And you can tell it's going to pull people because there are little green lines attached to them from the ball. If it hits a surface, it automatically detonates. So by continuing primary fire, then using Halt, and then detonating Halt while continuing to fire where Halt is, you are guaranteed damage. It's very strong against flankers. This thing is the Supercharger, gives you a 50% increased damage if you are in line of sight to it, which means, yes, you can give a 50% damage to your entire team or a 50% damage boost. Generally, what you do is put it behind the barrier, so you've got the bongo bunker. Now, let's have a look at this in live play. So, this is PTR competitive play we're looking at right here, and you'll notice that my barrier was down before the game started. This is because I want to be able to do what I just did there and instantly replenish the barrier. So, effectively, there is an 1800 HP barrier there. That is insanely powerful. Now, this ability you just watched me use here is Fortify. What that does is you obviously glow gold, and it's very clear that you've used Fortify. You can still use all of your abilities and do whatever the hell you like when Fortify is active, but it means you yourself are immune to crowd control effects. Now, where people get a little bit of confusion with this is they think it means you block crowd control effects. You don't. If Reinhardt runs up to you and earth shatters you, right, while you've got this active, you do not block his earth shatter. It just means it doesn't affect you. It will still hit people behind you. Now, you notice me firing at the Pharaoh player there, and also detonating Halt way too early because I'm a filthy noob. I was firing at the Pharaoh player, and it was quite difficult for me to hit because this is a slow-moving projectile weapon, really, and you have to lead the shots in. It is very difficult. It's something you will get, you just have to practice, and you will get better with over time. Now, watch me try and take out this Genji, firing at him while he's deflecting. Good idea, Sty. But, yeah, he gets away. Pharaoh comes in. I managed to land quite a few hits on her, but if my team didn't follow up there, I wouldn't have killed her and she would have got away. So it is difficult. Where she's very strong, though, is firing at very large, slow-moving targets. One thing you've got to be aware of as well is when you are firing the fusion driver, you move slower. So think D.Va. You move pretty slow like as you're firing. This is to compensate for, well, I think the damage output because it's quite high. So what we're going to be looking at here is how I'm holding this choke and what I'm doing. You'll notice when my barrier drops, I am using Fortify. That is because Fortify does something else as well. It doesn't just make you immune to crowd control effects, it gives you a 50% damage reduction. That makes you extremely tanky, and it means you can take a ton of damage. Now, she's tanky anyway, but because of her large hitbox, which we're about to see in a second, it means that she's quite vulnerable. So, this is me playing Widowmaker. Yes, I know, PTR, whatever. This is not a standard defensive position and all of that stuff. Watch Orisa, though. She's just coming out of the spawn. We're going to land a headshot, and then we land another headshot, and she's dead. Now, 2 fully charged Widowmaker headshots is a ton of damage. However, it's not really about that. What it's about is the sheer size of Orisa's headshot hitbox. It is massive, and the size of her hitbox just generally, it's really, really big. She's very easy to hit. So on the face of it, she can seem super tanky. 200 HP, 200 armor, Fortify for 50% damage reduction, 900 HP barrier, which actually can be 1800 HP if she's got one in reserve. Massively tanky, right? But not actually that tanky. Reinhardt still has her beat. So if you're a Reinhardt player, don't worry. Don't think, oh, I'm just totally dead. Orisa replaces me. She doesn't replace you. If anything, she works very well with Reinhardt. So what we're doing here is still holding down this choke. This is what this is what Orisa's for. She holds chokes and she's involved in steady advances on the enemy. She is not a fast moving hero. She's not a Winston, right? She's not a D.Va. She's very much like Reinhardt. The playstyle is very similar to Reinhardt in a way, but obviously you've got a ranged weapon, so effectively you can put out quite a lot of damage. You've just watched me put the Supercharger down behind my barrier. Now, probably not the best position for the Supercharger because it was out in the open, because a very interesting thing with the Supercharger is it can be destroyed. So if you drop this thing down and the enemy blow it up, well then you get nothing from it and it's a complete waste of an ultimate. Putting it behind the barrier obviously gives it a 900 HP sort of protective thing, but what I should have done in that example there is placed it behind the wall, not just dropped it in the open. The reason why I used it is because I wanted the extra damage there. I was like, oh, we're probably going to need the damage, so I better use the Supercharger. And it is really powerful, and this is going to combo extremely well with loads of ultimates. Pretty much anything you would nano boost, you can supercharge, and remember, it supercharges the whole team, so it is insanely powerful. Right, so what we're looking at here is the usage of just all of my abilities in just sort of in conjunction with all of them together. Like, using them together, it's a very nice flow with Orisa. Like, yes, some of her abilities have been taken from other heroes, like obviously the Graviton Surge, mini Graviton Surge Pulse thing she's got, which is called Halt, which I don't really like the name of that ability, but it's all to do with the lore and sort of halting traffic or something. She did, but whatever, who cares about that, ladies and gentlemen? It is a ridiculous ability. One thing which I don't think people have generally realised just yet how this is powerful is against enemy flankers, you can really dominate them in a way where it screws them up because you're pulling them back to guarantee shots on their target. You might not kill them, but you are disrupting their movement, and it is quite effective against Tracer, Genji, and you're about to see against Lucio. When he tries to run away, I think I get him with the Graviton Pulse. At least I think I do. No, he just dies. I do get him at some point. Well, you would have seen it throughout the clips anyway, where I'm pulling people out of position, and it's highly irritating to them. And, you know, that's fine, and that's great. Now, what we're going to look at here is Orisa on attack. And again, we're going to look at Halt. This is a fantastic ability. Watch this. They're out of position. They don't expect the Halt. The Halt pulls them all forward. It results in their Orisa being killed and their Roadhog taking a massive amount of damage. You have to respect this. Halt is going to change the game in a massive way. Imagine if you're defending on Numbani high ground and Orisa comes through the low ground, uses Halt and pulls you all off the top. It's going to be a wild few weeks while people sort of work out how to use this ability. Because, like, obviously on PTR recently we've been restricted to Iconvold and Hanamura. That's why you've seen a lot of Hanamura gameplay. And obviously it's difficult to get actual proper teams together. So I think the moment she's out on competitive, we're going to see some really interesting stuff with Orisa. Like I said earlier, it's very interesting when you see the Halt used to pull Reinhardt up in the air, and then your Reinhardt can earth shatter underneath. It's just such a great ability. Also, just for moving people out of the way and messing them up. It's very jarring when it hits you as a player. See, like there, I fired it straight in there, pulled the McCree back. You'll notice I continued to fire, right, because I knew where it was going to detonate. And it, like, watch this. This is what I was talking about earlier on. Did you see that? You see that Lucio was jumping all over the place. I pulled him back in. We didn't manage to kill him, but we almost did. But before that, we totally killed the McCree as a result of the Halt. It is such a powerful ability. Keep firing your primary weapon, use the Halt, aim for wherever you're going to detonate the Halt ability, and just keep firing into it. You will do an astronomical amount of damage. And this is where Orisa is a bit different to the other tanks. Maybe a bit, I guess, similar to, I guess you could say, Zarya or Roadhog. She outputs a ton of damage. Like, she will out-damage Reinhardt all day, but Reinhardt has got more defensive abilities, so it kind of makes sense. What we're going to look at here is effective use of the Supercharger, because this is a game-changing ultimate. It is just completely ridiculous. So what I've got here is I've dropped down my barrier. Above me is the enemy Orisa. What I'm doing is just firing shots in, piling loads of damage. You'll notice I'm not actually in the fight. If I'm in there, I'm going to die. What I was waiting for was my ultimate to become available. Now, I've put this in a position which is awesome. Look at all those blue lines coming from it. And you notice I killed their Orisa's Supercharger as well. All these blue lines means everybody who's being hit by that is getting a 50% damage buff. They are all nano boosted for damage. That is what that means. That is ridiculous. And there's going to be loads of positions where this thing can be set up. It's phenomenal. And again here, you'll notice that I managed to catch some people off guard there with using the Halt ability. It's just insanely powerful. As far as push and chokes go, I wouldn't say the team composition that I'm in right now is too good. I probably would want like a Reinhardt with me or somebody else instead of just like Orisa. But, you know, this was PTR, so people want to try the new heroes and stuff. We still got a Roadhog, so we can still output quite a bit of damage. You'll notice that I'm just forcing them back in this very slow, steady advance of Orisa. This is what she's about. She's not fast, she's not quick. She disrupts the enemy. She's very durable when she uses her ability. She isn't just straight up, I can just take tons of damage, because, you know, she's not like that. But when she's using the barriers correctly, when she's using Halt, when she's using Fortify, she is honestly a force to be reckoned with, and I cannot wait to see her in competitive. I don't think she's going to be used on every map type. I think she's very strong on hybrid maps, on payload maps, and on maps with very sort of tight choke points like this. I don't think on King of the Hill she's going to be too powerful, but again, we're going to have to see. It's going to take time. We need to play her on live, on competitive, to get used to that. Just want to talk a little bit about Junkrat. A lot of people were saying maybe Junkrat will be a counter to Orisa. He is effective at destroying barriers, but barriers is not Orisa's entire game. So I don't know whether Junkrat's going to be too effective. This, what you're seeing here, is a particularly horrible combination to go against. It's Symmetra, Reinhardt, and Orisa, like a super barrier combination. But I just wanted to touch on Junkrat because I think he is a bit more viable, but I don't think he's just the anti-Orisa. I think you need to be looking at people like Hanzo, you need to be looking at people like Widowmaker. Those people can annihilate Orisa, like really rip her apart, but so can any DPS, you see. This is the thing with Orisa. When her abilities are not available, she can be ripped apart. When she doesn't have a barrier, when she's caught out in the open, she will get absolutely annihilated. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa and this is Unit Lost, and this has been the Orisa Survival Kit. This should hopefully have given you enough information to go straight out there and start playing Orisa in quick play. As of recording of this video, she is not available in competitive just yet. She will be a week from this video's air date, and then everybody can play her in competitive. But I hope this helps, guys. I've been Stylosa, this is Unit Lost. If you've got any Orisa tips of your own, then do leave them in the comments below. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming, and I'll catch you next time, guys. Toodaloo.